Hello everyone, my name is Alsaluna Ayakanatitian. In this presentation, I will analyze intercultural communication issues in the film The Architecture of Love. This film explores how cultural background, identity, and communication styles shape relationship in a global context. And the first is a film overview. The Architecture of Love is an Indonesian romantic film that's set in New York. It follows the relationship between Indonesian characters who navigate love, trauma, and identity while living in a multicultural environment. And the next is intercultural context. The intercultural context in this film emerged from interaction between Indonesian cultural values and Western, particularly American, cultural norms within an European global settings. And the next is cultural identity. Cultural identity is a key theme in this film. The characters maintain Indonesian emotional values while being influenced by Western ideas of an independence and self expression. And the next slide is identity negotiation. The characters continuously negotiate their identities. They struggle between holding onto their cultural roles and adapting to the expectation of a global city like New York. And the next slide is the half states analytical. It's individualism versus collectivism. According to half states, Indonesian culture is more like a collectivist, while American culture is highly individualistic. The difference affects how the characters define love, healing, and personal boundaries. The next is communication styles between the characters. The characters often show contrasting communication styles. It's between Indonesian and Western. So Indonesian communications tends to be more emotionally implicit, while the Western one is encourages openness and direct verbal expression. And the next is emotional expression. Misunderstandings occur when emotional pain and expectation are not communicated explicitly. Silence and indirect cues are sometimes misread in a low context environment. And the next, a high context versus low context culture. Indonesia represents a high context culture where meaning is often implied. And in contrast, which is the low context, is the American one. It's expecting clear and direct communication. And the next slide is the culture shock. Culture shock is subtly portrayed through a loneliness, emotional isolation, and difficulty forming deep connection in a fast-paced metropolitan culture. And the next slide is power dynamic. There is an imbalance of cultural power. The Western norms often dominate the social environment that making Indonesian characters feels emotionally vulnerable and or unheard. And the next slide is the impact of miscommunication. The lack of intercultural understanding leads to emotional distance, delayed healing, and relational tension between the characters. And the next is identified intercultural issues. Intercultural issues. The main intercultural issue in this film is the assumption that emotional expression and coping mechanism are universal across culture. And the next is why the conflict persists. The conflict persists because cultural differences are rarely discussed openly. The characters internalize a pain rather than negotiating meaning together. And the next slide is proposed solution. One solution is explicit emotional communication. Characters should verbalize feelings rather than relying on silence or indirect signal. So they have to being straightforward about what they're feeling, like that. And the second proposed solution is developing intercultural empathy by recognizing that healing and emotional expression differ, differ across cultural backgrounds. And the last proposed solution, culture adaptation should be mutual, but characters need to adjust their communication styles rather than expecting one cultural norm to dominate. And the next is theoretical support. This solution align with intercultural communication theories, emphasizing empathy, cultural awareness, and communicative flexibility. And then the key message, the architecture of love demonstrates that emotional connection in intercultural relationship requires conscious communication, not just shared feelings. And then the last is the conclusion. In conclusion, the film highlights how cultural identity and communication style shape emotional relationship in global spaces. Effective intercultural communication is essential for mutual understanding and emotional growth. That's all from me. Thank you so much.